Without further ado, let's go ahead and begin our practice. I will invite our chime to sing as a welcome and as a way to call our attention to drop into the body, drop into the mind. I'll set an intention for our practice today. And for anyone who's joining the Spokane Sangha for the first time, on Wednesdays we do a unique practice, and that is for many years now, we have been studying the work of Zen masters. And we pick a book and then we just slowly digest it, consume it, digest it. And we have, for a number of weeks now, been looking at this book, Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. And this is a work written by an 8th century monk by the name of Shantideva. And we are finishing up the first chapter today. And the first chapter has all been about the cultivation of bodhicitta. And I'll talk to you a little bit about what that is so that we're all on the same page. I'll read the last 3 verses. I'll give you a little bit of an interpretation from me, and then we'll have time to reflect on it. Let's first begin with the chime and settle in and arrive. Welcome, everyone. This is Recovery Dharma. This is a wonderful opportunity to come into the 3 jewels of Buddhism. This is where we reflect on the Buddha, a person 2,600 years ago who, through his own agency, his own innate wisdom, his own good heart, was able to comprehensively understand suffering, discomfort, malcontent, its conditions and causes. And he also understood, there's a way to extinguish this. There's a way to alleviate it. There are moments where we are liberated from this suffering. And there's a way, there are concepts, there are practices that we can use to help alleviate the pain, the misery of being embodied as a human, having a conflicted mind, a conflicted heart, and to really open up to the magnificence of being. He brought all of this in an oral tradition for 40 years. He inspired thousands of people who carried his tradition, which is alive and well today, through the Dharma. These are the teachings of the Buddha. And in order for the teachings to come alive, we gather. And we gather with people from all over the world. And we hope to gather with people who are coming from different cultural points of view, different spiritual points of view, different life experiences points of view, to see how the Dharma comes alive in each of us as unique individuals with unique karmic imprints that can be expressed and shared. It's an extraordinary thing that we get to do. It's an extraordinary thing that you've prioritized your time to be holding these 3 jewels. I recently shared this sentiment of metta, and it came forward again. This is a beautiful painting made by one of our Sangha members who's here today, Lynn, in Montana. And this one reads, "May the layers of unwanted thought peel away into bright dreams." May the layers of unwanted thought peel away into bright dreams. bodhicitta. Very simply stated, this is the place of a harmonized mind and heart. It is a place of softness and strength. It is a place of vast openness, curiosity, solidity. Bodhicitta is what enables a person to stand before horror, disappointment, betrayal, injustice, upset of any kind. And rather than harden, and I use that word intentionally, and I invite you to bring that to mind. Harden. When you feel your heart hardening, when you have thoughts that are closed off, that is the opposite of bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is this incorruptible state that says, wow, despite the injustice, despite all my feelings of upset, I'm going to stay open. I'm not going to harden off. I'm not going to armor up. At the same time, I'm not going to be careless. I'm not going to put myself at risk. I'm not going to allow my vulnerability to be abused. But rather than close myself off, I'm going to practice becoming stronger, more confident, clearer, more present. Oof. No easy task. I'm terrible at this, by the way. I mean, I need a lot of practice. I can be so hardened, so closed off, so righteous and incredulous. Ugh. Ooh. I get to practice. So that's what we're going to explore today, this bodhicitta, the encouragement. And today's 3 verses that I would like to read for you by Shantideva is really an invitation to honor those people who have achieved this incorruptible presence. And in the Buddhist tradition, these people are called bodhisattvas. And there have been many of them in our history and even in our contemporary time. So, for instance, a current living bodhisattva, to my mind anyway, is His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Thich Nhat Hanh, Martin Luther King Jr., to name 3 extraordinary men. I think very recently there was a Christian bishop who stood in an incredible amount of integrity and power. She spoke truth to power, which is a bodhisattva enactment. This isn't something that is out there externalized for other people. We all have Buddha nature. We all have the capacity to become bodhisattvas, to live from a soft, wide, open place, to endeavor to want to express compassion and care for everyone, the victim and the one doing the victimizing. It's a tall order, and so we practice. And fortunately, we have wisdom that has survived the ages to guide us. So let me read for you Shantideva's words. And if you're reading along, we're on page 11, and the verses are 34, 35, and 36. And these are the last three verses for the cultivation of bodhicitta, soft, open, curious, pained, tender heart. Buddha said that whoever generates an evil mind towards a bodhisattva, a supreme benefactor, will remain in hell for as many eons as the moments for which that evil mind was generated. But for whoever generates a pure mind of faith, the effects of good fortune will increase even more than that. Even when bodhisattvas are faced with great adversity, negativity does not arise. Rather, their virtues naturally increase. I prostrate to those who have generated the holy precious mind of bodhicitta, and I go for refuge to those sources of happiness who bestow bliss even upon those who harm them. I am no scholar of Shantideva by any stretch of the imagination, but I am deeply inspired by his work, and I endeavor to interpret and reinterpret what he's saying as it comes alive in me. And I would encourage you to do the same. So I'd like you to listen to my interpretation here and see what is getting activated for you. See how wisdom is rising up in your own good mind, wise heart, and trust that. So in the first verse I read, it talks about how if you generate negativity towards someone with a pure heart, your consciousness will occupy hell realms for a long, long time. Legend says that the Buddha traveled to many different kinds of hell realms. Hell realms meaning ways of being in both the living world and the world of death. A hell realm is a realm of deep, deep suffering. And one of the things that's really important to remember is isn't a place of punishment that you can anticipate after this life. This is a place of punishment that you may already be experiencing. And so this is a karmic reflection. This is a way of saying that if you are generating negativity towards someone who is really of pure mind and heart, there's something going on within your own mind and heart. Take a deep look, because otherwise you will continue on this cycle, this hamster wheel of perpetual pain, misery, confusion, ignorance. Here's a great, very human example that happens in us, and it really reflects our adolescence, and it's the inability to be happy for someone's success. It has to do with our competitive nature, our comparative mind, and when we're not in a good place, when we're in a dissatisfied place and someone else is doing well, it's really hard to be happy for them. bodhicitta, cultivating bodhicitta, is not about disregarding your own feelings. It's about making sure that you don't project them onto someone else who's doing well. It's about holding your own negativity, keeping it to yourself so you can look at it, heal it, and at the same time be fully present to someone else, fully present to their joy and happiness. And let's say you can't do that. Let's say you're like, wow, nope. I am super envious, super jealous. I can't be happy for this person. Let's say this person is someone with whom you are morally and ethically at odds. They're doing something, they're seeming successful, they're making millions of dollars, whatever it is. And you're like, ugh, I can't be happy about that. Perhaps what we can do to cultivate bodhicitta is, instead of putting the focus externally, turn the focus toward yourself so that you don't shoot second arrows at your inability to generate some kind of acceptance, some kind of goodwill for another. Maybe in this moment, in this scenario, the only goodwill that you can cultivate and generate is toward yourself. And what a beautiful thing, rather than treat yourself negatively, diminish yourself, talk harshly about yourself, just extend goodwill, kindness, compassion. That's enough. The next verse, Shantideva refers to cultivating a pure mind of faith so that your efforts can yield positive fruits. I'd like to make a clear distinction here, faith in terms of the Judeo-Christian idea versus the Buddhist idea. So I was raised in a Catholic environment, and faith was all about putting some energy, some belief in a power external to me. And if I had enough faith, then good things would happen to me. That was what I believed. That's what I was conditioned to believe. That's at least my interpretation of that. The Buddhist tradition is very different, and the word that I prefer for faith is confidence. In the Buddhist tradition, we cultivate confidence so that through our own agency, we can participate with life. We can help create and curate the conditions with life to have a positive effect. So it's not so much looking outside of ourselves. It's about cultivating within. Very briefly, I don't know if you've ever heard the story of the Buddha and Angulimala. And it's a really wonderful story. I'll give you a very abbreviated version of it. Angulimala was this vile human being, vicious murderer, frankly. And this was a guy who would go around and murder whole villages of people, and he would cut their thumbs off, and he would wear them as a necklace. So he was just a true terrorist, and he struck terror all over where the Buddha was living and teaching. And one day word had it that Angulimala was nearby, and all of the Buddha's attendants were like, oh my gosh, we have to hide you. We have to make sure Angulimala never gets anywhere near you. He's coming after you. Yada yada yada. And the Buddha was like, we'll see. So one day he's walking along the path, the Buddha is, and he sees Angulimala. They catch each other's eyes. And Angulimala comes raging at the Buddha. And the story goes that Angulimala kept running toward the Buddha, but the more he ran and the more he raged, the farther the Buddha seemed to get away from him. And yet the Buddha appeared as if he wasn't moving at all. Steady, open, soft, vulnerable, strong. And finally, Angulimala, in complete disgust, was like, quit doing that. Stop trying to get away from me. And the Buddha very calmly said, yo, dude, I'm sure he said that. Seriously, it's probably in the Pali Canon. Yo, dude, seriously, I have stopped. You are the one that keeps running. What are you running from? And at that moment, Angulimala just stopped. And the story continues that he reverently buried his necklace. He made amends. He joined the Buddha's Sangha, and his name became Ahimsa, to do no harm. Powerful, powerful Bodhisattva energy. And the final verse that we heard today, it reads as a dedication. And it's all about recognizing that there are people who have achieved a kind of heart that we aspire to. And we bow to them not because they are so much better than us, not because we're so miserable, not out of any kind of obedience, nothing like that. It's purely an expression of awe, an expression of deep humility and gratitude, because here's the thing, the Bodhisattva's way of life is so open-hearted that there's space for everyone, even a terrorist wearing thumbs as a jewel. And so we recognize that a bodhisattva, somebody that is really open in this way, has space for me. In all of my misgivings, all of my flaws, all of my unworthiness, in the eyes, in the ears, in the heart, in the touch of a bodhisattva, I belong. And I bow to that. And I go to places that encourage this feeling, that encourage the reflection of this practice, that encourage the aspiration to have this kind of heart, open, curious, strong, solid, forgiving. This is the invitation, friends. And the big reveal of this practice, of the extent of our bodhicitta, is when we are challenged, when we fall short of our equanimity, and rather than get discouraged, rather than the habit energy and the storytelling that's so negative, we get up, we dust ourselves off, we smile to the misstep, and we keep going. your wise, wise hearts, your wise, wise minds. Allow them to be as they are. This is what it means to practice as Buddhas, to be. Let's go ahead, friends, and end our practice with a dedication of merit. And what I'd like you to do is, what I invite you to do is maybe close your eyes or at least turn your gaze inward a little bit. And today we heard wisdom that was shared in an oral tradition from the 8th century from a rebel student in India by the name of Shantideva, who was able to take the Buddhist teachings. He was at a university and was able to take the Buddhist teachings, take them in so completely that he wanted to create a roadmap for his own life. A roadmap defined by impeccable integrity, unwavering practice, complete devotion to easing discomfort, misery, pain, to really bring forward soft places for people to land, moments of joy, a presence that would mirror and remind people of their magnificence and beauty. And we were able to hear that today. And we were able to recognize people who have achieved this level of heart. And we've been invited to use our own hearts where we are today. Trust our own hearts where we are today. They don't have to be perfect. We're simply invited to practice. And we practice so that today, in your afternoon, may you pave the way for a little bit of ease. And even if you are the recipient of that ease, that is the Bodhisattva's way. And that is the way to bring peace to a world that is highly disruptive right now. We need you as light bearers and peacemakers. So may you feel encouraged in this practice, and may you feel joy to keep going. Thank you so much for being here, friends. We'll see you next time. Namaste.